if you guys want it.
It is okay. All right. Got the link as well.
I have a color.
Okay, we're going to try to do it this way this morning. No, it's not going to let me do it this way this morning. Why? Oh, you have to go down here. All right. Anyway, no, I don't like that. So we're not going to do that for a moment. We're going to change that to this. I like that a lot better. It's Red Friday Morning Caffeine. Jen, the homeschooling mom, who I affectionately call the homeschooling grandma because she just became a grandma. Randy
Right.
Rhodes, who I always call co-host and the master of the link, but I sent the links out this morning. I apologize that we're a little bit late because I was paying attention to something for another broadcast and I lost track of time. But we're all here. It is a talk about the Constitution. I know later that Jen wants to go into the First Amendment, which I'm looking forward to. And I promise that I will be a good boy in the meantime. If you go to, well, it was there. I just lost it.
The link?
Yeah, it was just here.
It's in private chat.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm going to tell you to go to cookiecrumbs.com, but leave the B out.
Yeah,
COOKIECRUMS/
no,
Jen can read you the rest if
.com.
she wants, but I don't know what. Wait a minute. No, there it is. Hold on. Randy might have sent it.
Just share the screen. There you go.
That's what I wanted to send. But
There you go.
we're going to talk about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and some talk about the First Amendment. But if you go to cookiecrumbs.com, I guess you get the whole document, the whole Constitution, the whole Bill of Rights.
No, you just get
No,
this.
okay, excuse me. You get the Cliff Notes edition, which
Yeah,
is the high points, and
the Bill of Rights.
and you get the Bill of Rights, and it's important because I'm going to make a generalization that most people don't know the Constitution off the top of their heads and don't know the Bill of Rights.
Right. Well,
And these are important things to know.
yes, I set this up to be a trifold. It's like a pamphlet. It folds in 3 sections. The first section is talking about the intolerable acts that the British imposed on us, on the United States, back in the 1700s, like 1775. And then the Bill of Rights are the 10 specific, most powerful rights we have in response to their intolerable acts. And what I love about the Constitution, especially,
I'm sorry about
is everyone alive?
Yeah, yes, everyone's alive. It creaks like that, and we have to introduce it to WD-40, but very soon.
Yeah.
It will not be something that we have to introduce WD-42. And
Oh, good.
we'll talk about that later. But yes, I guess I've been liberated, and I'm going to the Glovin home for old men that have dementia.
Aw.
And this is the warden right there.
Uh, bless her heart. Well,
Yeah,
I wanted to say the most important part of this Bill of Rights, it's not rules for us, they are protection for us. The rules for us to use against the government to
right.
say, these are things you cannot do. You cannot infringe on everyone knows the Second Amendment, our right to bear arms and to get together to build a militia, that we can be strong. It's not about you, it's about us. We own them, believe it or not. But anyhow, what I wanted to talk about especially is this First Amendment, which is um, a five part, and you can remember this with the acronym. This is silly. Um, RAPS, RAPPS, because this First Amendment gives you the freedom of religion, and that's the R. The A is freedom to assemble, and it sounds stupid, but it's important. You could not stand around in a group talking back in the 1700s because the British would come around and say, What are you talking about? What are you doing? What are you planning?" You couldn't even have a city hall. You could not assemble at all. You couldn't have church service. You couldn't, 'cause they always thought that you were talking about them, because we probably were. Well, not we, but them back then, the colonists. Okay, the next thing you have is the freedom of the press, RAP. That's the freedom of the press. Then the next P is the freedom to petition, because we weren't allowed to do that. The colonists were not allowed to petition their government. They couldn't file a grievance. They couldn't say, about the cost. They didn't want to hear anything about the cost of stuff, because that's how the government made their money. This sounds way too familiar. It was on taxes. And they did it then. They came back to do it to us again in 1812, and we kicked them out again. It was crazy. That's how they make their money, off of everybody else's back. Okay, and then the final thing, RAPPS, is the freedom of speech. And this is a tricky one, and I hate that lately the left is using this against us, as in the situation with Jimmy
Mhm.
Kimmel. He's one of the last late night talk show hosts. And what he did was not, um, he violated his contract. You're not allowed
Right.
to just say whatever you want wherever you
Well,
want. You cannot do that.
he he, from what I understand, does not own Jimmy Kimmel Live. ABC and Disney, the parent company of ABC,
Uh-huh.
own the show. So yes, you're right. He did get a contract that said you're allowed to do certain things, you're not allowed to do other things. So,
Yeah.
you know, like I said before when we talked, I'm not upset with what he said. He had a right to say. I mean, I am upset with what he said, but I'm not upset that he said it. I'm upset with where he said it. And so are they had said at the time like 400 TV stations that are Sinclair Broadcasting and Nexstar Broadcasting, and they're not going to show. I think it worked down to like 70 stations. Basically, blacked him out. I think Randy said on the East Coast you couldn't watch him.
It was
Uh,
primarily from the Midwest to the East Coast. They were blacked out.
yeah, you probably could have found him on the internet to watch it if you really wanted to. You know, uh, you know, And again, I'm the kind of person that doesn't want to see anybody lose their job. But if you do
Yeah.
something stupid, you play a stupid game, you deserve some kind of punishment. And a week I don't think was long enough. No apology was not long enough. Uh, at least apologizing for where and when he said it. You know, if he was out in the parking lot talking to a bunch of people, that's okay, as far as I'm concerned. I don't agree with what he said. I don't like what he said. But, conservatives, people who like Charlie Cook,
Oh,
excuse me,
thank
Charlie
you.
Kirk, uh, did not really want to hear it. A lot didn't want to hear it at all, but, we were in mourning at the time, and you just don't do that.
Right.
That's me. Not,
It's
you
poor
guys are
form.
welcome to say what you think, but you just don't
But
do that.
but the
We don't.
left is always extending their use of their freedom of speech. Yeah, it's like Jen's trying to say is the freedom of speech can't be cannot be detracted by the government. Others screaming fire in a
Right,
crowded rooms, that sort of thing. But look at the all the award shows, right? People want to watch the award shows for the look at the fancy costumes, the dress, to watch the music, the acting, but then they come out and they open up their mouths and they have to degrade the
hmm
right, no matter what they do. They're there to receive an award for their movies or their music, whatever. Don't politicize it, but they always do. So yeah, I agree with the speech, freedom of speech, but you have to be aware of your audience and where you're going to be making open your mouth at.
right, right, right. If you're there to get an award, stand up, get the award, and go away. If you want to badmouth something, go
Yeah.
outside and
So
badmouth
what I'm going
something.
to do is I'm going to purchase maybe today or tomorrow like a heavy paper, so I can actually fold this like it's meant to. So I
Okay.
think this is neat to have because I do have my
Yeah.
little copy of the Constitution and the amendments are in here. But
Oh, right.
this sure be a neat thing
hmm
to include like some kind of mail
Yeah.
out or something. It's pretty cool.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Jesse just brought one up. The printer's downstairs, and I have this black and white copy. I printed it
Yeah.
in grayscale. Let me flip it over. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you can do that in black and white. But I think we finally got our print cartridges in the mail
See,
because
mine's in color.
I know. Oh, that's great. It's great. And what's nice is when you do this trifold, it's like a pamphlet. And I remember Jerry kept saying to me when I was showing him this, he would say, um, pamphlet. Why are you using that word? I'm like, because it is a pamphlet. And he's like, that's not a common word. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, it sounds like you're back in the 1700s. I'm like, okay, sure. So I know we don't usually use it.
Oh, well, a lot of people call it, I guess, what it is. It's a trifold.
Yeah.
But, then people are wondering, what the hell are you
So,
talking about,
What's
Dave?
a
so
I don't
I,
know what, I don't, right. I don't know what a
par?
trifold
I,
is. I know what
A
I know
tri
what a
a
pamphlet
trifold
is.
to
Go
me
ahead,
is
Granny.
the old fashioned hats back in the colonial days, whereas the hat was split in three.
Three
But,
corner hat.
but
That's so
Oh,
funny.
this
a
is a
trifold.
brochure.
Right.
Awesome.
Right. A trifold to me is the old trifold
And
wallets where you put your ID in one side, your credit cards
and
in the middle,
no money in the other one.
and,
No more.
and right, and no money in the other one because you don't hold any money.
Right.
But
So,
just keep going, Jen.
oh, no, that was all. I just really wanted to stress the importance of that First Amendment. And I think the most, besides that first one being important, of course, the second one I love because it kind of protects all the rest of them.
Hey, Dave, can you put up on the screen her 3 part what you said at the beginning? The no, not the
Pam,
Your
brochure.
brochure.
The letters. No, the
pamphlet.
Okay,
letters.
this one.
Oh, wait,
The
wait.
letters to
The
what?
Um,
I
link.
don't
The
uh,
link.
understand.
no. Stop,
She
stop.
she did send me a link and I forgot to put it up.
At the beginning, you said something. What? It's a three-letter an acronym for what you're saying.
Oh, RAPS.
Oh, okay.
RAPPS.
Yeah.
That's
So if you can type that to Dave, and then he can show it to the people so they can watch what, so they know what Raps is. That'd be cool.
okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
You want to know about?
There will be a test on
Yeah.
this, folks.
Okay. There will be a test, so
That's
make sure you
yeah, I'll
take
go over it
notes.
again. It's the freedom of religion, the freedom to assemble, the freedom of the press, and the freedom to petition your government. And the last one is freedom of speech. RAPPS.
Now, did you come up with that yourself, or did you see that somewhere?
That's how they taught it to us.
Oh wow, that's cool.
So I thought this is a really good thing. So yeah, that was
Wait, yeah, that's what they did in school all the time. You know,
yeah,
the teacher would have the little cute little acronyms for kids to learn faster what everything meant. So that's pretty
right.
cool.
Yeah, I was happy to tell my kids that you don't see stuff that made simple anymore. But
Yeah.
it's the only amendment that has that many parts to it that are like, oh my gosh, those are important. How am I ever going to remember this? To those here.
Freedom.
Yeah.
Hold on a minute. Freedom is excluded to those here in America who are victims of modern day slavery, creating awareness about human trafficking, and that is that is true. And anybody on Facebook should look at the group Modern Day Slavery, creating awareness about human trafficking USA.
Yeah, well,
Please.
thank God they
Uh,
still have the freedom of speech. And I am so proud of Suzanne for developing that group. You know, she's gone through this terrible tragedy and she made an awareness group. That is freedom of
she did.
speech. I love that. That was very good. And more power to you. I'm proud of you.
Okay. My hands are not doing what they're
But yeah, so
supposed to
feel
do
free to print out the
this morning.
pamphlet and know your rights. So important. Oh, I love that, Randy. That's great. I got a colorful one too.
So on the front page, you have the intolerable acts. What you want to talk? Tell the people what that is.
Yes, that real quick. I didn't touch on each one, but that would be fun. These are the things that the um Britons did to the colonists. Okay, we've already left on the Mayflower, and we're in the New World. Okay, so we left England, and because the taxes were insane, well, they needed money. Now that all their workers were gone, they said, well, we're going to go over to the New World and we're going to do the same thing because we need money. So they started this first act, which was the Boston Port Act. Oh, just a second.
The Boston Tea Party?
No.
No, no, this
Okay.
is a Boston. It's also called the um, it's it's an
Okay.
act.
No. Okay.
They shut off shipping.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
yeah, and this happened after at the specifically Boston Port Act is they shut off shipping in a certain canal because they wanted the colonists to repay all the tea that they wasted. So, um, what the colonists did is they threw a fit and threw all the tea
Yeah.
overboard and wasted, how much was it? $1 million worth of
A lot.
product of
A
tea
lot.
to say we're not going to spend this much money on the tea. And they're like, can we grow our own? We'll just do our own. We just won't drink your tea. Don't send us this stuff at 10 times more the money. And they're
Right.
like, oh, you're not going to do that to us. Now you got to pay that back. And so until we could pay it back, they shut off shipping, so we couldn't ship anything out or get anything in. So that was bad enough. That was the first intolerable act. The other one was the Massachusetts Government Act, and that one, gosh, I haven't done this in so long.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, what?
Take
Okay,
your
what?
time.
Okay, so
Take your time.
The Massachusetts Government Act. In fact, here's just do it this way. I got it on my screen here.
Okay. Wait a minute. Hold on. Okay, Professor.
So the Massachusetts Government Act altered the Massachusetts Charter, restricting town meetings and appointing more positions by the Crown instead of by local election. This took away autonomy from the Massachusetts government, outraging colonists.
Oof,
Yep.
that's crazy.
Yep.
So what they did essentially is they stacked they stacked the council, more or less like the Democrats are trying to do today by bringing all these millions of illegals. They're hoping to have them vote Democrat, thereby stacking the number of Democrat senators and congressmen. So they're trying their own version of it.
Okay.
Wow, that's crazy. And um, let's see. That was the Massachusetts Code. Okay, the next one is this Administration of Justice Act. They also called this one the Murder Act. They could just go into your place of business, whatever you were doing, and they could take you out and they could try you. They could even kill you. It was terrible.
Yep.
Um,
What it also was that if an Englishman, an English citizen loyal to the crown, was guilty of a crime, they could go in there and say, "Nope, this guy's not guilty," and overthrow the trial and free the English citizen prisoner.
Wow. And this next one is insane. I can't imagine this happening in my home, but we tolerated this quartering act by giving up our city streets to the illegal aliens for the last 4.5 years, which was our 4 years, which was so frustrating because, I mean, besides being one of the Bill of Rights, that we wouldn't have this quartering act anymore. There's also an amendment. It's Article 4, Section 4, that says that the government will protect us against invasion.
Right.
And yeah, so they should be protecting us. And I remember the whole time this was happening, and the first time when Biden said this was going to happen, and he called them the newcomers, and they're not illegals or not aliens, they're the newcomers. I was like, no, we have to pay for them food, clothing, and shelter. No, no,
Right.
no. It was so frustrating,
I,
but, how do you fight that?
you put up and you let people know that no, this is not going to happen. Uh, they they brought a large group of illegals in under Biden because they wanted the votes. They brought a large people in under Obama because they wanted the votes. And under Obama, I don't believe he got the votes. I believe they actually voted for Trump. Uh, I don't know about how they voted under Biden, and honestly, I don't really care because they shouldn't have been voting anyway.
Well,
But no,
yeah.
they don't have a right to come to your house and tell you, "Screw, go somewhere else." This is our house now. No, they don't have a right to do that. Uh, we don't have to pay for them. I was talking with people today about the Affordable Care Act. They think that we should pay for the Affordable Care Act for people, for illegals who don't have insurance, so they have insurance. No, go home and get insurance, or become a citizen, get a job, and don't and have insurance.
Yeah,
But I
that
mean,
was
Chuck Schumer wants to hold the government hostage because he thinks that we should pay for illegals to have health insurance. No, no. Go ahead,
That's
Chuck.
crazy.
Hold the government. And by holding the government, he's got a bunch of Democrats that will vote that way. So on anything that requires 2/3 vote, or even just you know, there's a bunch of Democrats that are going to vote no, or anything that requires half and half vote. They got a bunch of Democrats that are going to vote no, but we still have a bunch of Republicans who are going to vote yes, and they're the majority. So when
Right. The last intolerable act is the Quebec Act, and that one was when they wouldn't even have trials in America. They would have them in Quebec, and that was crazy. It was their own set of rules and their own judge and magistrate, and this is all happening in was it Canada, I believe. It was crazy.
Yeah, it
but
was
what
also the English were trying to get a hold of the whole aspect of how the people in Quebec lived. Again, they were distanced from England, so they're starting to project their own independence. So the English crown sent in, troops and so forth, so that they can reel back in the independence of it and make sure that they were living and acting like they were British. With the court system, the economy and so forth. So to try and make sure that the Canadians didn't lose their English uh, 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 association with the crown.
okay,
That's another way of grabbing onto them by the throat and saying you're going to live the way I tell you to, not the way you want to.
and
Wow.
obviously there was a war, and we showed them no, we're going to live the way that we are. But we still do that today. We still do things today. Democrats will find a judge that they like, and the trial will take place where that judge is, and that judge often has no authority to make a nationwide decision or even a decision in another state based on what he wants in his district, his area, his state. I don't care, federal or not. You just don't have a right to make that decision.
Right. Speaking of these things, tell us about the current news. What's going on with indictments, Dave? You were talking about
Uh,
this.
from what I heard, because I still haven't, I only saw it once in a CNN article offline of Facebook. I saw that James Comey has been indicted by a grand jury. I don't have exact information as to what, but I would assume he's going to sing like a bird because he doesn't want to be in trouble. So he's going to sing
No.
like a bird to save himself.
So,
That's go. That's going to lead to others. But go ahead, Randy.
so the update as of this morning was that he was found guilty of one word. The word was no. And I forget what the question was. I think it had something to do with did you have anything to do with you know try and getting the information against President Trump, something like that? He said no. He lied. He did.
Mm-hmm.
So the indictment is about that one word. Now, Newsmax has their Judge Politano, however you pronounce his name.
Okay.
He said that with his legal knowledge, that this is a nothing, that he is going to get off, nothing's
Well,
going to happen, and everyone's going to walk away thinking, why did we waste our time?
then hopefully it's a wake up call to go after bad people for the bad things that they did and not play around with games anymore. Not be nice to the other side because they want us to be nice to the other side. I mean, the reality is, like you said, anything we do now will be changed in 2028 if they win the presidential election. I don't think they stand a chance of winning the presidential election because too much is going to come out before that people are going to say, no more Democrats. We're
Uh,
just not going to vote for them. They do stupid things. Chuck Schumer has been there for 44 years. He wants us to pay for illegal immigrant health care. You got to think if illegal immigrants need health care, go home and get health care.
Right. They probably
So,
don't have it there. Go ahead.
so the so
Their
the phone
problem.
number you have here on the center of your brochure, call your Congress in D.C. Do you
Mhm.
think that's actually going to be answered by a person or voicemail? And do you think they actually respond to people calling in, or this is a waste of people's time?
No, it's for real. I have a stack of letters I saved back
Right.
from my the senator. Every state has two senators, and every state also has at least two House of
Mhm.
representatives. And what I do is I call this number when I have something very specific to say. And usually it's just one sentence, and you call, and the first person you get, and if this is not archaic, I'm like, this is crazy. In this age of technology, they have an operator who answers the phone, and she says, "This is the operator in DC." And you're like, "Hi, I'm calling to give a message to my," you can say congressman. Usually they'll say, "Is this for the Senate or for the House?" And you could say either or both, or you can say specifically one if you want. If you don't know who your senator is or who your representative is, just say, whoever will take my, information, I am from the state. And
Right.
then they're like, "Oh, okay." And that's all they need. Then they transfer you. Then you go to a real office.
Right.
And then usually I get my senator's name is Risk. And they say, "Hello, this is Senator's Risk's office. Can I take a message?" They all take messages. You don't
Right.
really talk to
Right. Yeah. You don't. You, on the first call, you don't get to talk to the actual.
please support the bill. You talk to a
Yeah.
secretary of the um,
Right.
senator or the representative. Usually, the senator and the rep. If you get a voicemail of the senator or representative, you'll hear their voice, but it's
Right.
a recording, and then you leave your message.
Right.
And then in 2 days, you'll get a letter in the mail saying, "Thank you for being part of our political you know,
Yeah.
system and blah blah blah." And they'll say it's people like you that keep this
Right.
country running, and you feel special. But
I,
and then
I'm
after
going
a
to tell
while,
you. I'm going to tell people that are watching to do it a slightly different way. Call the office of that senator or representative and ask for the legislative director. That's the person who is responsible for reporting to the actual senator what's going on in the House or the Senate. It's that person's job.
legislative,
It's that person's job to say, hey, Jen Woodruff called, and this is what Jen Woodruff complained about. You can decide what you do or not, but if you call that office and you talk to the legislative director and you talk to the actual legislator, it has to go in the public files that you called and talked in the archives, that you called and asked to talk to that person. You have a right to talk to that person,
right?
but unfortunately, yes, you have to jump through many gates before you actually do.
Hmm.
You know,
So
I
Jen, I know you probably called that number quite a few times. Have you ever gotten any positive response back other than that thank you letter?
Yeah, and I was really encouraged the last time I called. Oh gosh, it was when, Biden, he was doing something was crazy. Oh, about it was when Biden was sending, oh dear God. I'm like, it was, we were all on the edge of our seat. We're like, "Oh my God." We're like basically begging Putin to like do something like nuclear because it was stupid. And so I called and I said, "Please, tell the senator to vote no on allowing Biden to send more money to the Ukraine. And I
Right.
don't know what it was. If it was crazy, but it was this huge amount. And I was like, no,
We
we're like
sent like
poking
$70
the bear.
billion at a time.
Right. And I said, "No more. This is
Mhm.
crazy. Tell my senator to make a very loud no.
Right.
Don't do this."
Right.
And they said to me, and this is what Randy was asking, they said, "I am so happy that you called and that you understand, this is a concern." And they're talking about it on the news, and everyone's just like, "Oh, okay, we have no control." Because we kind of don't, but we do have a voice, and that is the strongest control we have. So don't let it go.
Right.
Use it.
The,
So, anyways, they said we wish more people would do this. And I said,
right.
I'm posting this all over Facebook.
Right.
So I did, and I hope it was effective. But it was, I don't know if it was my voice that did this, but somebody realized, oh my gosh, we have to stop this. You
Yes.
can, all these little voices add up to something.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
just make sure, folks, that when you if you make that phone call, that you watch what you say. Be aware that the phone calls are recorded and they
It's
are listened to. So you don't want to make any stupid comments
no,
or threats.
no,
be
but you have
be
a right
nice,
to
be
call and
cordial.
say, you have a right to call and say, please, no more money gets sent to Ukraine if that's what you want to say. And you have a right to get angry while you say it. You don't have a right to move to threats. If anybody sends any more or votes to send any more money, what you're going to do? No, you don't have that right. And sometimes what happens is I actually got uh, Dick Blumenthal on the phone one day, and he said to me, "I honestly don't know enough about what you're talking about." He said, "I know your problem exists. It was a social security problem." He said, "I know the problem exists, but I don't know enough about it. The person in my office is Grady, whoever, and he's my legislative director, and it's Grady's job to help me. I will
Wow.
get. I'm going to give him your number." And I think 3 or 4 times I talked to Grady, and then 3 or 4 times we played telephone tag, and then I finally gave up. But in the 3 or 4 times that I actually talked to Grady, he he was spot on, and he did what he was supposed to do. So don't give up that they're
Awesome.
not going to do what they're not supposed to do. I mean,
Right.
some will, but
Yeah.
where it comes down to is they have a job. They're not allowed to vote the way they feel. They're supposed to vote the way we tell them because they
Right.
represent us.
Yeah, it's just like what I'll be doing shortly for the people of the South. They have not given up the idea of seceding their state.
Well,
So I actually have has been given a position to reach out to all the senators and congressmen who may be enough to sway
okay,
the decision. So they created like a letterhead. They created a questionnaire, and I'll be emailing out to all the folks with the hopes to try and
okay.
peacefully get them to vote. So again, they're using their voice, they're doing it diplomatically, and who knows, there may
I
still be a
don't,
hope.
as I've said before, yeah, if that's how you feel, that's what you push. That's what you go after. But I don't think that the North is going to secede from the South again. And I think it's going to create a whole lot of problems if they do, because
Yeah.
if you live in a state that secedes from the Union, they can turn off your Social Security because you're no longer a citizen. They
Well,
could do a lot of things. No,
what does
they
it? Yeah.
can
Okay.
because
Okay, Dave. Keep in mind that if the a dozen more. In fact, Matthew Holmes, Jen, his next project is to. He has information that there are a lot of northern states who like the idea of how the South lives. So there's a lot of support in northern states. So, if you get, the idea is if the states are able to succeed, obviously they'll create their own government. They'll take over all the like you're saying, the Social Security, the support of the people.
Okay,
But
if
God,
you leave the United States and start your own country, the way I feel, the United States doesn't owe you anything because that money was collected while you were part of the United States. You're going to have a very hard time if you think the Social Security Administration or Medicare is going to say, okay, you left, take your money and go. I also don't think when it comes to the House for a vote or the Senate for a vote, you're going to get 2/3 that say, okay, because the biggest problem, like I say every single time, is if you live in Arizona and Arizona goes blue with every other state around you going blue and you're red, what happens?
well, I'll make one last comment and then move on to the Bill of Rights here. It's just like any state right now where, and what this is what the Democrats are trying to do by stacking the deck. They're bringing, they have like 25
Mhm.
million or more illegals, and the idea is just to spread them out amongst the states. So when it comes time to vote, they'll make sure that they have the right to vote. Now they just stack the deck against the conservatives
Okay,
because there's a lot more of these illegals living
okay.
who are going to be voting blue.
My
So they
my
have the ability to change that state from a red to a blue state. So it's the same.
my response to that is that if you're not a citizen, you do not deserve the
Correct.
right to vote. And I'm not talking about someone following the process. When you become a naturalized citizen, you get the right to vote. But if you came in illegally, you broke the law. I'm sorry. I don't care what anybody else says. Tom Homan, the man who makes the decision, said if you come into the United States of America illegally, you broke 18, section 18, whatever, it's a 3-digit more code. You broke that code.
Yeah.
So if you're in here illegally, you deserve.
Hey.
Dave. Dave, it has nothing to do
Yeah.
with illegals. I have this site you got to go to. I'm part of this
Go ahead,
group.
Jen.
It's called
Right.
conventionofstates.com. You have to go
Yeah.
there. It's about Article 5. It's not in this Bill of Rights. These are this is something different. This is part of Article 1. This is Article 5.
Right.
COS, Convention of States, is a real thing. And I love what you're doing, Randy, because you talk to those senators. They need like 2/3 majority to get an appointment at a magistrate's office to do this Convention of States, to even try to secede. But
Mhm.
it's not unconstitutional what they're doing. And I love
No,
this.
it's not. No. No, it's not. It's not unconstitutional to call for a separate to call for a convention of states. But the convention of states, I think, is being called for to clean up all of this opposition crap, all this in favor crap, and say, we are the United States of America. Some things do need to be changed, and they can be changed in a convention of states, and they should be. There would be term limits. So Schumer doesn't serve 44 years. Chuck Grassley on the Republican side, he's 91 years old. I think he's a great guy, but hey, he's
Yeah.
been in there for half of
Yes.
his adult life.
That's
It's
that's
time.
true.
It's time
Yeah.
to find a younger
So
Republican and
let's
let
get
them
back.
serve until they're
Let's get back
91,
on track
I
with the Bill of
guess.
Rights. I want to touch on the First Amendment a little bit. Religion, assembly,
Okay.
petition, press, and speech. So we have
Okay.
the right to freedom of speech, but we've seen how sometimes the freedom of speech can be stretched a little bit too far to where it actually becomes hate speech or racist. But the press. Let's touch on the press a little bit. The press also has they have to be aware of how when they type the words, the free speech and put it onto paper, they have to realize that
Mhm.
when someone gets that newspaper,
We lost your audio, Randy.
Who knows? I think it came
You
unplugged.
my right. My belief is you have the right to say anything you want, and you have the right to say it at any time you want. But as I have said, I think there are consequences that come along with that. So if a newspaper types up racist this or that, you have a right to say, no, I'm not a racist. And you have a right to defend yourself. Or you have a right to say to the newspaper, a bunch of people, they're not, that whatever you said is racist is your own opinion. Yes, you have a right to your own opinion and you have a right to say it. You can say it anywhere, but there are consequences for what you say, just like you can't go into a movie theater and yell fire just because you want to see everybody scramble out.
I don't know. I think if it incites
You,
violence or civil unrest, it should be illegal because I can't stand when you got these I want to say enemies. When you see people of Mideastern origin saying Allahu Akbar, I feel like that is a war
Mhm.
cry. When you hear them saying, oh, it gets
Well,
worse. When you hear them saying to the river, to the sea, that is a battle cry. I don't think they could say that. I don't think that's freedom of
but
speech. I think that is like,
it it's not in the sense that how they're
no,
using it, how
yeah.
they're using it. I don't know what happened with, but how they're using it is a battle cry. But so maybe that shouldn't be. But the point comes back to if they're not citizens, they shouldn't. Okay, Randy's back.
Awesome.
Uh,
got audio. Yes, okay.
if they're not citizens, they don't have a right
Right?
to be here to create a problem that doesn't exist.
Okay.
And as far as Sharia law goes, I'm going to say this, and they can be upset if they want to be upset, because I have a right under the First Amendment to say whatever I want. And the consequence may be they don't watch anymore. That you don't have the right to come into the United States of America, which is a republic and operates under the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and decide that you want another form of. Well, I mean, you do, but you have to understand you're not going to get what you want.
Okay,
No.
we're kind of getting off track more of a political show when this was supposed to be about Jen. But I'm gonna get back to the press thing, the freedom of speech. What I was trying to say before I hit my microphone and that damn
Okay.
cord um, is you can take the words that we speak verbally
Mm-hmm.
and you put it on the keyboard and you start typing, right? And when in the morning, it got so bad that where I live here in Lancaster, we actually had two newspapers. The one in the morning was a Democrat newspaper. It was called the Intelligencer Journal. The
Okay.
one in the evening was called something else, and that was the Republican. And so that they took this exact same subject, but they worded it to the left or they worded it to the right. So you had your
Oh,
choice if
right.
you want to listen to the Republican or listen to the liberals. But when you take that free speech, this is why Trump's always saying about the fake news. They are taking words and they're twisting it to
To
reflect
serve
how
their
they feel to
purpose.
serve their purpose. So now you got less than half of our nation reading information the way the liberals want it. You got less than half of our country watching the news, and what do you see on the liberal news? You see the same subject being said the exact same way, each guest and host's mouth on every single station. Why? Because they're brainwashing the
Right,
people.
Right. Barack Obama said you can take poop. He actually said the bad word first, and then he corrected himself. He said you can take poop and say it as many times as you can say it. And if you say it enough times, then people will believe it. If you believe it, that's your fault. If a bunch of us say it's not poop, it's something that needs to be dealt with, then it deserves a right to be dealt with. But then again, we have a House of
Yeah.
Representatives and we have a Senate, and half of them are one side and half of them are the other side, and they're not there doing the job, which is representing the people who sent you there, the majority of the people who sent you there on any issue, and not how you
Yeah.
feel as a person, because you're not voting for yourself. You're voting for the people that you represent.
So back in the colonial times, you had what was the guy that discovered electricity? What's his name?
Edison.
Thomas Edison.
Oh, look, I'm thinking of
Edison.
someone
No,
else.
Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah, Benjamin
Yeah,
Franklin. He
he put the key on the kite string
yeah.
and he got shocked.
Yeah, so he had his own little newspaper thing going
He did.
where he would get the word out to the colonials, and the British kept going to all these places, destroying the printers and the machines that they used to print out the paper because they were trying to keep the people from knowing the truth. So Bill of Rights, the First Amendment, very important. The right to bear arms. There are the English and the Australians love the fact that the American people have the right to bear arms. And in fact, Russia has even said that they would never try to invade our country because they wouldn't be going against just our military. They'd be going against 300 million citizens who own guns.
Well,
Right.
that's a good reason to not to seriously consider not coming in.
Yeah.
I personally don't think he wants to. He doesn't like some things we do. He doesn't like some things the Democrats do. You know, he got accused of causing Russian collusion. He's admitted I did nothing. I was not involved in it. I just sat on the sideline and watched it. But Hillary Clinton paid for a document called the Steele dossier that lied.
Okay.
Mm.
So the Third Amendment, the cordon of soldiers, that's keeps is supposed to keep our government from coming to my house and saying, "Hey, Mr. Rhodes, just so we're going to do an encampment out here, and we have about a dozen soldiers who need to come in out of the rain. So we're going to take over your house, and we're going to sleep in your bed, take baths in your shower. We're going to eat your food." And whatever else if you have a daughter. But so the Third Amendment is to protect the early Americans from having that happen.
Right?
Did it work? That's to be
No,
discussed somewhere else.
but 240 some odd 50 years, 250 years later, it works like it's supposed to. They
Hmm.
can't come into your house and say, we now live here and you don't, or whatever they want. I'm going to read something that Michael wrote, and it's a paragraph, so I have to put it up on my screen so I can see it, so I can read it. Under the law in the United States, several narrow categories of speech are not protected by the First Amendment and can be restricted or punished. The exception to free speech have been defined and refined by court decisions over time. Illegal and it doesn't go on from
Yeah,
there,
he
but
says he
please
says in another
go ahead, Jen.
he says in another paragraph recently about the Second Amendment is being challenged in Pennsylvania on how many arms you can bear.
Mm.
And that is very frustrating because it's not to be infringed, but did you see how right after Oh, this is back to the Jimmy Kimmel. He was talking about the suspect who was a shooter was probably on MAGA, and we're not going to talk about that. As he's talking about that, AOC's jumping on the bandwagon about these
Because
guns
she,
are not what?
right, no,
Yeah,
because she
she
heard the word MAGA, so
yeah,
so
and
she's
she
gonna
ain't
jump
gun.
on us.
And so now she's trying to infringe on the Second Amendment,
Hmm.
and it's about the gun. So the whole thing is a mess. They're using anything and twisting the words.
Right. They don't. The way I see it, and the way other people see it, is they don't
And I
have a
hate the
right.
fact that they're infringing
Right. They they don't have a right.
There you are.
my connect. You see me?
Okay.
Okay, good.
But they don't have a right to come to you and say you can't own a gun. Why? Because the Constitution says you can own a gun if you can own a gun. It doesn't even say if you're qualified. It says you have the right to own a gun, and they cannot take that right away from you. Why? Because if they could, they would.
And
Well,
see
it says
that,
it cannot be infringed, and they're going
Right.
to cut back on what. Yeah, it's in Randy's state. Go ahead, Randy.
and see, and that's why, I was talking earlier. Australia and England are jealous of the American citizens because we have the rights to own weapons. If Australia and England still had that right, they wouldn't have the mess they have going on in their own countries. I do think though that there should be a limit to maybe what guns you have or how many guns you have, because when I was selling security, I've gone in some homes. I'm thinking, what the hell are you looking to get into? I mean, this guy had a hidden room where he made his own bullets. He had ammunition. He had uh, camouflage suits. He had, bulletproof vests. He had all these weapons. I'm thinking, are you? He was ready for a war, and if it ever came to it, look at the people in the South. They have all kinds of
Right.
weapons, and they're
Right.
ready for it.
And they're not
So,
going to. Right. They're not going to give them up because the government says all of a sudden you can't own that gun. You can't own a gun with a bunch of rounds. You can't own this. You can't own that. Our founding fathers didn't say you can't own this or you have a right to own guns, but it can't be this, it can't be that. They didn't say that. They just said you have a right to own guns, and your government does not have the right to take that away from you. This
but
is where we
but
are. Is our government thinks they have a right to do whatever they want. Our president has the belief that he has a right to do anything he wants, but he doesn't.
I
There's a
don't think
thing
he
called the
does.
con. Well, no, but there's a thing called the Constitution that says this is what you can do. If you want to bring something else up, we got to talk about it.
It says it shall not be infringed
Right?
on Second Amendment. That's
Yeah.
infringing. If you start numbering it, that's
Okay.
infringing.
Okay.
That is
But
wrong.
I'm the kind of person. If you come to me and say you want to take my gun away, my option, and I don't have one. My response to you is why? Because you think you have a right to take it away? Because you don't. Just like every other gun owner that has a gun, for whatever reason they have one. I think at some point we crossed a line, obviously, where we allowed our government to do whatever they wanted to do, however they wanted to do it. Whether Democrats were in charge or Republicans were in charge, we allowed our government to take control of us. And that's not what our founding fathers ever meant to be created. Or maybe it is something, but
okay.
everything that they have shown me and
So,
everybody else seems to be that they work for us.
so I'm getting out of time here, but
Okay.
the Fourth Amendment, the search and arrest. I want to dig on this a little bit, and then I gotta jump off. But you know, search and arrest. Uh, the idea was that if there was a reason to come to your home, to your property, to do a search for a criminal, okay, to place that person under arrest, you're supposed to come with a document in hand saying, "Here, I got this. Um, what do they call it?
A warrant.
A warrant to search your property,
Right.
and then then the warrant also can be restricted to what they can do as
No,
far as what to look for, or
the
what to check.
warrant, the warrant. Period. They don't have. They can't get a warrant that says, "I'm looking for anything and I'm going to check every room." They can't do that. They have to go before a judge and
And
tell the
be very
judge.
specific.
They have
Correct.
to be very specific, right down
Correct.
to the letter.
Right.
I'm going into Randy's house and I'm looking for every gun in Randy's
Yeah.
house that Randy has.
Correct. But I
Because
think,
Randy shouldn't have a gun, according to laws that we passed. Randy shouldn't have a gun. They
but
can't just go into your house and say, I'm looking for illegal, I'm looking for classified documents that a former president might have because he shouldn't have them. But that's something for another show. They can't just do a lot of things that they do, and it's time that they learn. No,
so I think somehow our governments, specifically those on the left, have again taken this amendment and they've uh, twisted it and they recreated it to say, hey, I can come into your house at 3 o'clock in the morning. I can break down that door. I can have a dozen guys here with M16 rifles point at your little children, and I can scare the willies out of you so I can go in there and search for a box of documents or to search for Mr. Rhodes, who we have a warrant for his arrest for, robbing the twisty, the tasty cake shop down the store or
okay,
whatever. Um, I think, and I don't know how the search and arrest warrant reads, but I would have to think that there has to be limitations as to what time of
I don't.
day that you can come to my house and do that search. Because and why is it only happens to the Republicans and conservatives? You don't see this happening like when Trump had his guys go out with the FBI to make the arrest. He went out at a decent time. They weren't having weapons,
Right.
pointed
I
at
don't. Right.
people.
I don't believe he was there. From what I heard, he wasn't there during the search. I believe his lawyers were there, and his lawyers were told, "Get out and let us do what we're here for." You can't do that, like you just said. You can't do that. They showed up with a truck, evidently, that had everything they were looking for on that truck. They brought it inside. They moved boxes around to places that they evidently, according to Trump and other people that are members of Mar-a-Lago, were never at where they were. So, like I said, at some point we gave, if you want to say Democrats, we gave Democrats the right to do whatever they want, however they want, whenever they want, and it's 100% wrong. I
Mm.
Yeah.
personally don't think you should be able to take my door off the hinges, scare the hell out of anybody in my house with a bunch of guns so that you can look at my house. And you're right, they should not be able to do it at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Um, do I have time for the next one? Rights of criminal cases, right to fair trial. I want to jump down to the right to a fair trial because again, here is an amendment that the left is twisted, and I think President Trump is key evidence of that. What do you think, Jen? Did President Trump have a fair trial?
No, I think everything was slanted. And my biggest frustration is who can you get to properly represent the Constitution? That's why we have the Supreme Court. And they are starting to frustrate me lately
Right.
that they are not standing up for the things that I'm reading, the way that they're written. It's
Right.
pretty clear.
Right.
Hi, Ray Ray. Yeah, it's insane. I hate this. But
Again.
Trump he did come through with a fair trial. It was ridiculous. All the
Right.
trials he went through this summer, that was ridiculous. But
Hmm.
he's been vindicated.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, but
But they slapped all of those 34 charges on him, hoping that some of them would stick. And none of them stuck. And they did it on purpose because they wanted him to be tied up with all of these
lawfare.
charges.
Right.
Lawfare. They wanted him to be tied up so he couldn't be president of the United States.
well,
Yeah.
but they're trying to tie up his money and his
Mhm.
businesses so he couldn't earn any money during that time frame. He had $500 million that he was supposed that he would could have lost.
Yeah,
Uh, Luckily, he found enough supporters to give him the money, so he didn't have to take that money out of his bank to put it into
right,
escrow to hold in case he lost his case.
right.
Thankfully, he won his case, and those folks
But
got their money back. But the biggest thing is he now has this you're a felon on his
well,
record.
he has that on his
Right.
record. He has that on his record because the only way a felon can be can win the appeal is to be a felon. You can't take away that Judge Mershon, Judge Juan Mershon,
Juan Mershon.
was the first judge to nail a sitting president. You can't take that away from him. I mean, he has that forever. But you can show him how stupid he was and how illegal it was and this and that. And he should never have been the judge because he said before it even went into his courtroom, I'm going to find him guilty.
Yeah, yeah,
He didn't send him to prison. He didn't send him to prison for well, I want to ask him, but I'll never get the chance. You didn't send him to prison because all you wanted was the guilty verdict. That's all you wanted.
yeah.
Obviously, you had to give the Democrat Party a guilty verdict or lose your job or whatever else. That's ridiculous.
So
That's not how we work.
I'll give this a few more minutes. I'm going to jump down to bails, fines, and punishment. Since because that would corresponds to what we're talking about with President Trump.
Mhm.
Jen, do you think that President Trump? I'm using him because he is the biggest figure here, and he actually relates to what we're talking about here. Do you think that he was given a fair bail, fine, or punishment?
Wow. No, I think he paid way too much for nothing. I really
Right.
do. But I am very thankful that he had a great legal team. And I'm really proud of that. Elena Haba. She really
Mhm.
went to bat on many occasions.
Right.
But yeah, it wasn't right. He
I
paid out the
Yeah.
nose for ridiculous things. He even
Yeah,
paid to that. I always bring it up because
Right.
it's absolutely crazy. What's her name? EJ Carroll. I don't know. Some lady
Yeah.
who thinks she was raped by Donald Trump. It's so trashy. I'm sure he wasn't even in this place at what was
Supposedly
it?
that's what he proved that
At
he was not in there when
at
he was not
Target.
in here when he was not in the dressing room with her when she claims all of this stuff happened in a dressing room wherever it was.
He was probably at Neiman Marcus with his wife selling a new
And
line of
right.
clothing, not raping
And they're right.
weird
And they're
people.
playing back and forth, and they're going to play back and forth forever, and it's going to cost them.
Mhm.
If he gives her a couple of $1,000,000, it's not hers to take right now because he's going to go into court and prove that I didn't do it, and she's going to have to give the money back. And whether or not she decides to go after him again is again on her. Why? Because she might want to tie him up forever doing whatever he did or try to prove that he is the kind of person that she wanted to prove. Jeffrey Epstein is not around, and it's a terrible thing because he claims to have said he never did anything illegal. He was a friend of mine. That's why I let him use my jet. That's why I partied with him. I partied with him through the 90s. I did something wrong. I stole one of his workers and made her do terrible things. Victoria was a masseuse at
Wow.
Mar-a-Lago. She didn't do anything illegal. She never did anything illegal. She said that. Trump said that. Other people said that. She gave massages. And he stole her away and made her do terrible things.
Wow.
And I don't believe that he should be dead. I believe he should be in prison, spending the rest of his life in a very small cell thinking about what he did
Right.
wrong.
Well, back
I also think that Madam Maxwell should not have been removed to a country club prison.
right.
I think she should be, because she had a choice to decide whether or not she was going to do what she was doing
Right.
for him. People have God gave us the choice to make a good decision or a bad decision. That's why God doesn't seem to get involved, because if you make a bad decision, you believe that you're going to hell and you're
Yeah,
going to
I
go to hell forever. So if you're going to so if you know that God's going to send you to hell forever, why
yeah,
do you make
God's
a
not
bad
sending you to hell.
decision?
But back to Randy's question about the
Okay,
Trump not having a fair trial. But
he
the
didn't.
point is, so he can have the best legal representatives, a team, whatever, blah blah blah. If you've got crappy judges, what do you do? I mean, we've got this constitution, but who
Well,
is the Supreme Court that holds the Constitution? That would be the Supreme Court.
what well,
But how do you
what we
enact
need to
one?
do
Dave,
is
let her
go to
talk.
every well.
How do
Okay,
you
go
enact
ahead,
the
Jay.
Supreme Court if they're the ones, besides that one during Biden's administration, that can't define a woman? You had two kids of your own. Figure it out, girl. That was Kataji Brown. That was ridiculous. Was that the auto pen that signed her in? I don't know. But that is
Right,
the
but
highest court in the land. And obviously, they're
if
the ones who are supposed to be the supreme authority on the Constitution. So, who
right, they
can we
shouldn't be
get
there.
to fight for Trump to say, hey, this is an amendment,
Well,
this is an article, this is what it
they
says.
there should be someone at the United States Supreme Court, and I'm sure there is, that interviews anybody who's nominated to be a Supreme Court judge. And then they kick it upstairs and you sit with all the justices and you prove to them you deserve the opportunity to be there. Then you're supposed to have a hearing. In the hearing, senators talk to you, and you have to prove to them that you should be there. If you don't want to give them what they think the legal definition of a woman is, if you have some other radical, crazy policy that's not in the Constitution and doesn't deserve to be in the Constitution, then you've proven that you're not effective as a judge. We should have the best judges on the Supreme Court. And it should not matter if they are Republican or they are Democrat, because the rule is the president gets to appoint if one leaves the court, retires, or dies and leaves the court. It also maybe shouldn't be a lifetime position, so that when you're 35 or whatever age Brett Kavanaugh is and you get appointed, you shouldn't be able to be there when you're 91, unless you can prove to whoever that you still are able to do your job. It shouldn't be the oldest judges, it should be the best judges. Also, I was going to say, same thing with all of these other judges. There should be some kind of review every so often that proves that you're still able to do your job. And if you can't do your job, then you're
You know,
gone.
I personally believe, and I'm at and with this, I gotta get. I personally believe
Okay.
that our founding fathers never envisioned, never envisioned um, uh, what the future could be. I mean, they couldn't. They were making decisions on how to create our government based on how they were living at that point in time. You know,
Right.
how can we have a legal system that is fair to everyone? It's almost no,
You believe.
that was called
Okay, go
pregnant
ahead.
pause. Um, how can
Okay.
we? Trump would have lost every single one of those cases against him had he not have the money, the prestige, and the uh, lawyers that he had. Had that been
Right.
me, with no money, no connections, no good lawyers in my back pocket, I'd be spending the rest of my life right now in prison. The system is not fair. The legal system is not
But
fair.
that's what he.
When you're trying
But
to
he
pick
spoke about that.
judges, like the Supreme Court judges, they're picked by the president. So when Trump is in office, he was lucky enough to put in two, I believe, two new judges. The next president might be a Democrat, and he might put in the judges should not lean left or right. The judges should be
Right.
only about the law. And that goes for everything from Supreme Court
Right.
down to dog chaser, okay? But that's not the way it is.
Well,
They lean left and right. And if you go in there, you're conservative, and you got a judge who leans left, you're screwed. And that's not the way it should be. But
but that's what I've been saying is that you don't have a right to sit down at your Supreme Court seat and vote for yourself based on your beliefs or your party's belief.
so, folks, I got to get out of
You
here, but
need the best of the best. Okay.
click on the link. If not, if you don't have the link, ask for me or Jen. We'll send you a link to
Yeah.
this pamphlet, this brochure. If you have the ability, I'm going to actually buy the actual brochure things,
Mhm.
and so I can print this out so it's properly folded and indexed.
Okay.
And if you can, folks, come on. I got this free from someone. I have no idea. Some guy asking for money or something. But get yourself your personal pocketbook of the
Right.
Constitution and the
Right.
rights and read them. You need to know what is right and what's wrong and why we are still the best country in the world because we have this in our hands, in
Right.
our
Yes.
back pocket.
Yeah.
Jen, I know you tried. You did a phenomenal job here
She
putting this
did.
together.
She did.
Thanks.
Let's talk afterwards, okay? Folks, I got to jump. I got a
Okay.
new client. I pulled in. I got to start working on his stuff.
All
Take
right.
care.
All right. Thanks, Randy.
Goodbye.
Randy Rhodes, all roads lead you home genealogy. I will tell you that I think he's the best, but you have to talk to him and decide for yourself. From what I remember, and I don't remember much because I have dementia, but Jen was told that she's a princess, I believe.
Uh, oh, in genealogy? No, I
Yeah,
don't think so.
yeah,
No.
I believe Randy found proof that that
Uh,
if it comes down to you, you're a princess. I know that if it comes down through one side of my family far enough, I could be the king of Poland. But
yeah,
I don't,
that's
I don't, I don't want the job because it's too close to Ukraine. So,
you're so
so
fun. No,
one
I
of
don't know. I
one of my it's like something like 14th, 15th great grandfathers was a rabbi. Randy found this, and he took care of a wealthy man and helped him when he lost everything and helped him get it back. And as a result, the man asked Rabbi Saul what he could do to pay him back. And I guess Saul must have had the Sapperstone, because I believe that's the side of the family that he came from, sense of satire and said, "You can make me king." So I guess for 24 hours, because Poland couldn't have a king, couldn't be without a king, and the king died, they elected him king. And at the end of the 24 hours, he said, "I don't want to be king anymore. I want to go back to being a rabbi." That's what happened. But my point is that talk to Randy, because Randy will find excellent stuff. He'll also find some stuff that you might not want him to find, but he'll he'll
Yeah,
do
I
he'll
think
do he'll do the best.
I think it was the royal babysitter, but that's okay.
Oh, okay.
I
I
don't know.
I
I'll
I
go with
I,
princess. Thank
I
you.
had heard princess, but if it was not that you're a princess, I apologize and I will
No,
correct
that's all
myself.
good.
What
Thank you.
what what it appears to be is that the relative of Jen's might have been the royal babysitter. So
I think so. That's
okay,
okay.
okay,
All
but
right, but so we're off, but thank you for letting me
yeah,
have this
hey,
time to share
no
my
problem,
pamphlet.
no problem, no problem, no problem, no problem, and you're welcome to come back anytime.
That's great. Yeah, this time in the morning, I don't like my face so big. I'm like, I don't know
It,
about
it's
this.
just the way that it's just the way that Restream works. It
Yeah,
sizes the screen constantly. So if there's something on the screen, it gives everybody an equal
yeah, that's it's
amount of
great.
screen space. And then as that changes, you look bigger or you look smaller. Or I can make it look, I can play
Yeah.
with it and try to make it smaller, but I don't worry about it. You know.
Okay, that's great. Okay, well, thank you, Dave.
All
This
right,
was fun.
Jen. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want me to do it or you want to do it? Because I
Oh,
don't want to do it. I don't want to do it to you.
oh,
Okay. Jen, the homeschooling mom, Woodruff, who I affectionately call Jen, the homeschooling grandma, because she recently became a grandmother. So it's all in love. William Lockett is here watching somewhere. I don't understand where the people are that are watching, but William Lockett is here watching. Ray Fagans, who is Ray. Oh God, I can't remember. William Rayfield in another life. He's watching this morning, and he's 100% right. President Trump didn't get a fair trial, and maybe James Comey will get a fair trial. I mean, he deserves a fair trial, but he deserves a fair trial that proves that he was an idiot and did wrong things. And Michael Anthony was here, and he helped, and that was great. And who else? Uh, Roseanne Andrews was here, and she wants you to go look at modern day slavery, creating awareness about human trafficking USA. It's a great group. It does a great help to people. Gives you a lot of information you won't find anywhere else. So please go to that group, join the group, look around, and learn. I was here, but I'm always here. David Navarre was here. He was the first one to be here, and kudos to him. Sometimes we get a lot of people, sometimes we don't get anybody, but hey, we do our best. We're here Monday through Friday. Excuse me, we're here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, so adjust yourself accordingly. And we're here usually Tuesday and Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, so adjust yourself accordingly. I took last night off because if you go to my profile, I did about an hour and 15 minutes yesterday on a subject that was important, I felt, to do a broadcast on. So I took the night off. Plus, Randy and Jen were doing something, and I just decided to take the night off because of that. A lot of other people were on. A lot of other people you can watch. And, I will keep saying it until I'm blue in the face. I don't know why, but I do. Make sure you watch The American Rebellion, Jerry Michaels and Company. It's like a bunch of people sitting on the porch and smoking cigars, drinking beer, and anything else you drink, and just talking about what needs to be talked about. If you like that, go watch the American Rebellion Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday at 7 p.m. and or whenever else they decide to do it. Go to the Michael Anthony page, and you will be able to read his words of wisdom. You may be able to watch some old broadcasts. I don't know. You might be able to watch new broadcasts. But go to his page. Who else do I want to plug? Make sure you go to the Patriots Lab and whenever it is on, and go learn and speak your own mind. But go watch, learn, speak your own mind. And you might even learn things that you didn't know. Also go to the Jim Price Show Daily Update. I don't remember what he calls it, but it's a profile picture of Jim when he was a little bit heavier and had more of a beard. That's the one that you want to click on. And if you're in the East Coast, it's 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And if you're not in the East Coast, it's 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., but it's the same time. So you'll learn a lot. You'll learn a lot. Jim spent a lot of time and worked with Charlie Kirk and has a lot of information that you want to hear. And then make your own decision if you need to make your own decision. I think that's just about everybody that I need to suggest to you today. And if you're on and watching and you want to be suggested, make sure I pay attention to you. So thank you for being here. We didn't do Red Friday, but Red Friday is Remember Everyone Deployed Friday. And deployed can mean here in the United States, and it can mean around the world. That's what it is. The man who taught it to me said, you can be deployed in the United States. We wear a red shirt to remind everybody that we're thinking about it. We're thinking about the men and women of the United States military, the men and women of ICE, the men and women of the National Guard, the men and women of the state police and local polices or sheriffs, if that's what you have, because they have a tough job. They protect us all the time to the best of their ability. That's what Red Friday is. Take a cup of coffee and we salute that it's the weekend because it's Friday. I tell you, go have a fantastic weekend. The impromptu or whatever I call it, Boogie with the Bull for Saturday. I don't know if there will be one yet. So you might have to read groups and read my page for words of wisdom instead. I haven't yet decided. That's all I have to say, really. I think we covered it for myself and for everybody else, and we did our best. You want to go to cookiecrumbs.com/ actually, it's so long. I'll type it into the live chat so that you get a chance to see it. And you want to go to conventionofstates.com and learn more. And I'll try to type that in too. Or talk to Jen, talk to Randy, because he does know about it too. So talk to Jen or Randy, and they'll give you the quote. They'll give you the link so that you have it. I was supposed to write the Cookie Crumbs link in, and like I said, we were running late because I got too involved putting something together that's going to come up at a later time, and I didn't watch my clock, and I realized it was 9:36, and I had to put everything together and put us on. One of these days, I will have other people who set me up and get it all ready to go, and I can do what I do because technical ed is getting loose on me and hard to do sometimes. Hey, Brooklyn Pagano was the last person to tune in and watch us. You see her all over the internet. You see funny things she puts up. You see sad things she puts up. So laugh, cry, enjoy seeing her around. A recent immigrant from the People's Republic of New York down to Florida, whatever you want to call it. And one of these days we're going to have her on, and you're all welcome, anybody, to come on. That's all I'm going to say. You're all welcome to come on at any time. Just let me know you want to come on, and I'll send you a link. But right now, we're going to end the broadcast. So as I do say, go have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy your weekend. And tentatively, we will be back on Monday at 10 o'clock. And what we're going to do, I don't know yet. Anyway, go have a great weekend. We're going to hit this one.